All right, coaches, we're going to go ahead and get started with tonight's clinic. Matt Jones, owner of Hardwood, Texas, and like to introduce our guest, a former Division II college coach and North Carolina native, Coach Mike Hedrick. He's in his 11th year of coaching. He's led the Patrick Henry High School girls program in Roanoke, Virginia for the past 3 seasons. During that time, they've set a school record for wins in a season, and this past season, they reached the 5A Final Four. In 2018 and 2019, this team's reached the Elite Eight, won back-to-back district titles, and were crowned 2020 region champions. After his team's success this past year, Coach Hedrick was awarded the 2020 5A Virginia Coach of the Year. Coach Hedrick and I got connected because he's a member of Hardwood, Texas, which I appreciate, and Coach Donnie Ott, and who's also a member and a Texas coach that I know. They get together on weekly Zooms, and Coach Ott talked to me and said, I need to talk to this guy. So I approached Coach Hedrick about putting a lineup together of Virginia coaches or any coaches in that area, and do a series on Hardwood. And here we are. So I did tell him not only does he need to help me organize it, but he also needs to be the first speaker, which he graciously complied. So I appreciate that. On a little bit of a funny but also pretty cool note, I texted Coach Hedrick earlier today about verifying some of his bio info just to make sure I didn't screw any of it up, and told me his master's degree in coaching and athletic administration came in the mail today. So this is his master's degree party, I guess, we're having here tonight. I'll also throw this in for all my Texas compadres out there for sure. Coach Hedrick's assistant coach is the head football coach there at the high school, whose daughter is one of his studs, I believe. And he is sitting in the football coach's office right now because he and we talked about a couple of things, and we're going to actually do a little something different here. We're going to shoot the video up on the screen, and he's going to point his camera that way so we don't have any lag. And so we're going to try that, and hopefully that works pretty well. We did that one other time in the spring and it worked well with a different speaker. So that'll be good. So I appreciate all his help in getting this series put together and kicking it off tonight. I have seen the presentation he's about to present, and it's really good. So get ready. And with that being said, I'll turn it over to Coach Hedrick and his Simplified Matchup Zone.
Matt, I appreciate you, and I got to clarify a few things. One, I'm going first today because everybody else in my coaches of the South have so many state titles. If I go after them, it's going to be a letdown. So I felt like I had to go first, so I have some level of importance to it. The second thing is, I was very fortunate. If you ever get a chance, get the head football coach as your assistant, because the amount of clout you can walk around with as a girls basketball coach when the head football coach is on your side is amazing. And he's been phenomenal and a big part of our success here. Not just, he's got a great daughter, but, he's just such a humble guy, and he's won 7 state titles himself in football and coached Division I, and he's taught me a lot, and he's been instrumental in our success. But I wanted to say thank all you for coming out, watching live. I know a lot of you watch on demand. I know I always watch stuff on demand because I wanted to fit my schedule. I'm going to share a PowerPoint with you. I'm going to go through it quick. There's things in the PowerPoint I'm not going to read off because everyone in here can read, and you are going to have my contact info. If you want more information, call me, text me, email me, and we'll talk about it. And then I got some game film to show you. I'll show you some clips of what we do. I'll show you some practice drills of what we do. And I'm one of those guys that I don't show you what looks good. I just show you the good and the bad, because I think we learn as coaches so much more from when things go bad on film. So hopefully my stuff makes sense to you. Hopefully I do a good job making this worth your while. So all that being said, I appreciate you. I love the state of Texas. I love how much you guys care about basketball and how you guys do things, and just the opportunity to share is phenomenal. So if you give me a second here, I'm going to share my screen. hopefully you guys are seeing my screen here at the
That's
top.
good.
My contact info is there, cell phone, and then I do have a website, coachmikehedrick.com. You can just, I don't want to talk a ton about myself. I want to focus on the topic, but if you get interested or anything, you can check out the website and see a little bit more about me and my background. I've also got it shared on here. My resume, this is the exact same thing that I put out if I was going for a job tomorrow or if somebody asked me. I did put a link to this PowerPoint in the chat. So it's a Google Drive. It's pretty big. You should be able to hit download and put that if you are interested at all. So it's very important that I give credit where credit is due. I'm no genius. I steal from a lot of people. And honestly, the reason I'm where I am today in coaching is because I had a lot of people I worked with that gave me the freedom to coach and learn how to coach. And then since I've become a head coach, I've met some really amazing people that have been willing to share. And the reason why I'm here talking to you is because I'm a big believer in coaches got to stop hiding their stuff. We just got to share it, and we got to grow the game. And I want to be a part of making the game better. I don't know everything. You guys can probably teach me something, but I wanted to give credit so you understood kind of where our matchup zone, or what we call a matchup zone, came from. And I worked for a woman named Barbara Helms in North Carolina for 4 years, and she really taught me understanding how to do half-court pressing and zone pressing. And there's elements of that in this matchup. My first college boss was a guy named Jay Sparks, who was former national NCAA Division II Coach of the Year. From him, we ran the Amoeba defense that year. So I learned all that stuff from Coach Tark and UNLV, and we ran that. So you're going to see Amoeba principles. I spent a year coaching at University of Charleston in West Virginia under a guy named Adam Collins, who is now at Southern Arkansas U. And there we did something really interesting called the no defense defense, which is probably a topic all in of itself, because we actually did something crazy. We took one player that's actually a leading scorer, and we took our 6'2.5" post and stuck her under the rim, and we didn't guard that best player. And we were in a league where a lot of the best players were average at best, 33% or less three-point shooters. And you'd be amazed at just not guarding them and putting a 6'2" person under the rim and saying, go ahead, shoot that three every single time down the court. You'd be amazed at what that did at the college level. But that's a conversation in and of itself, that defense. Very interesting stuff. But there's principles I learned from Coach Collins with the no defense defense that we apply to our matchup. When like many of you, I've run different things. I was a pressing coach. I've been a man coach. I've done full court run and jump. The only thing I've done as recent as 2 years ago, I really started diving into the concept of what do I want to run as far as a matchup zone a year and a half ago. And it started at the Final Four with a conversation with the associate head coach at Syracuse women's basketball, Vaughn Reed. And he was able to spend 3 or 4 hours on me talking about how Jim Boeheim runs his zone at Syracuse, talking about Quentin Hillsman runs their zone at Syracuse. And there's going to be parts of that in this presentation as well. Good friend of mine who's going to be on this Coaches of the South series later on, Franklin Harris, probably runs one of the most aggressive zone defenses in the state of Virginia. And I've been lucky to call him a good friend for 2 years, and he shared with me things. Vance Wahlberg, I don't know him personally, but I've read about him a lot, created the dribble drive offense, and he actually has a 2-2-1 press. And if you're familiar at all with it, he has terms for the people in his press, and I actually stole those terms, and they're the terms that we use for our matchup zone. And then the last person is me, because I took all those people ahead and I made it my own and added my own little wrinkles into it. And my hope is if anybody does anything like this, that, you know, you can credit all of us and then credit me, and then credit yourself with whatever wrinkles you put in. But I use a lot of people's advice on how to do this. So it's really important. I think this, at least for me, matchup zones are very intimidating and were very confusing. And I knew it's something I wanted to kind of run, but I didn't know how to. And I had to figure out, what did I want this to be, okay? And at first, I got to realize, what is this matchup zone? We call it 2, so I'm going to refer to it as 2 for the rest of the time. What is 2 not? It's not a man. It's not a zone. It's conceptually both. I actually tell my girls, this is like a press 3-point line and back, or this is like a press in the half court. So I don't ever use the term zone with my girls. Okay. I want to make sure they never think of zone, because too many times coaches before them have given them ideas, intentionally or not, about what a zone is. And I don't want them to fall into that. Another thing we don't do is we don't chase cutters. One thing I think is a big difference between what I see, like Duke women with Coach P. McCauley, like she ran 1-2-2, 3-2, whatever you want to call it, matchup zone for years. They had a lot of chasing the cutter principles. So meaning, somebody in that zone would actually cut through. If they cut through, the defender would go with them. We don't necessarily do that. Okay. So we're a matchup, but we're not necessarily matching up to you and we're chasing you all over the floor. I feel like if we were going to do that, we might as well do man-to-man defense. And we don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. Now, for me, what makes this a matchup, we match up to offensive alignment. So 4 out, 1-3-1 look, 3 out, 2 post, whatever you can imagine an offensive lineman is, our defense does look different based on that. And a lot of times I've gotten feedback from coaches or people in the stands, that 1-3-1 y'all ran was just suffocating tonight, or that 3-2 zone was just great. And I've honestly heard all kinds of different things that R2 is called, and they're usually not right, okay? But it did look like it that game. The other thing that I think makes it interesting is we match up to what we learn in the scouting report. We are really big on making adjustments to tailor towards our opponent. So there's games where we guard things one way, and the next game we guard the complete opposite, and it's solely based on who we're playing and those individual tendencies. So that's, again, makes it very unique and confusing to look at times. Now, I think the key to teaching it is we have all these adjustments we make, but we have a set rules that serve as a base. We find one way, this is the way we want to teach it first, and then we make all of our adjustments off of it. And I really believe that's helped us become successful, because even though we do multiple things, we do have a base rules that we put in before we do all the adjustments. Don't try to teach it too much at once. We have set positions. Every position in this defense has a unique name to it, and I think that helps the girls. And I've already told you we adjusted every game to the opponents. Now, the reason why I run this defense, okay, and I can't speak for you, but this is my personal why. I want a chance to beat people that are better than us, because I don't have the best team in the state. For us, there's a team that has 7-8 Division I kids in 5A Virginia called Princess Anne that's won about 8 straight state titles in a row, I think it is now. When we're playing them, or we're playing Franklin Harris's team at Highland Springs, we're not always going to have the best team. So I'm looking for ways to beat people better than us. I think this defense is confusing, and I mean that in the most respectful way, to opponents and coaches and players alike. I think we give them different looks. I think it's not something that it's easy for a coach to watch film sometimes and say, we're going to attack it this way or that way. I think that gives us an advantage. The versatility. I can put people in all kinds of different spots regardless of size. I can run things different ways, more pressure, less pressure, trapping, pack it in, extend it out, deny. There's all these things we can do out of it. I've learned that there's probably about 5 to 6 things that most teams will do against this. So that's a lot less in my mind than having to play man and scouting for all the different man sets or motion options that people will try to run. A lot of people only have one zone offense, and they'll usually run it against this. And as soon as they change an alignment, we adjust. So then it's, a constant chess match. And I think as coaches, we got to feel like it's our job to prepare our players. And if we get into a game, we want to win the chess match. Even though this is aggressive defense, we think we're going to foul less because we're just a little bit more disciplined, because we're not chasing. We're not spending effort on things that don't absolutely matter. We try to focus on this defense on things that truly, truly matter to stopping someone from scoring and putting us in a good situation to rebound. And the big one I will say is players still advance to the next level. In my 3 years here, 50% of our kids have gone on to play college basketball. I think there's this overall thing of, well, if you don't play man, you're hurting kids. They're not learning the game. I think that can be true, but I think you can teach bad man. I think it's all on what you teach and how you do it. I like to think that our defense is very aggressive. We teach them how to help the helper, even though it's not necessarily out of a straight man-to-man format. We teach them good principles, and because we're running this and we run our press, we have a lot of time to develop offensive skill. So I feel like we do a good job of getting our players to the next level on top of all these things, which for me makes sense 100% for me to still run this. So I'm going to get into video here in just a second, but I wanted to give you guys the names of the positions. All right. And this will make sense whenever we start watching the film. I'll make sure I slow it down to show you. But the controller, is the guard who actually ends up guarding the ball. Okay. And they have specific things that they're trying to do, and we'll cover that in the film. The gapper is the guard that's not guarding the ball. The controller and the gapper are interchangeable positions. So in the course of one possession, a player can become a controller, a gapper, back to a controller, back to a gapper, and vice versa. They can just keep on going from roll to roll depending on where the ball moves, scouting reports, and what we're trying to do. Taker and reader are the exact same thing. Taker and reader are what you think of think of it like the wings in a 2-3 zone, okay? Those are interchangeable. The taker's ball side, the reader's weak side. Obviously, when the ball moves, that means the reader becomes a taker and the taker becomes the reader. A lot of different interesting rules that we have with them. And with the taker and the reader and even the middle, it's very much scouting report on how we guard and different things we do. So the taker is called the taker because they take the first pass on their side. And the taker is designed to take the shot away. So we should never have any catch and shoot threes because the taker takes it away, okay? The reader is called the reader because they're on that weak side and they have to read what's happening. They have to read on where they can anticipate to get a steal. They have to read on if the middle leaves the rim unprotected and they have to go help over. The middle is called the middle for obvious reasons, as you'll see on film. Gapper is called the gapper because they play often in the gaps, okay? They're not on the ball, they're in the gaps. And the controller is designed we want you to control the ball, all right? We want you to make them put the ball on the floor a little bit, get under them, make them uncomfortable, whatever that looks like. So again, I'm gonna give this PowerPoint presentation to you. You'll have all this. You don't have to worry about taking the notes. You can always watch the video back over again to see all this. But most of this stuff here, we're going to talk about when we get into the film stuff, okay? So what I want to do right now is I'm going to move my laptop here real quick so I can set up and show you guys the screen. So just give me 1 second while I do that. Matt, if you don't mind, let me know if I'm centered or if I got to move anything.
Yeah, maybe come down. There you go. Perfect. Yep, that was good.
Perfect.
That's good. Yeah, right there. Hey, now go to the left side of the screen's cut off a little bit. There you go.
Can you still hear me fine?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to show you guys some film, and when you look at the PowerPoint, all these films are embedded into the PowerPoint, okay? And I've got film set up and broke down from guard-oriented offense and also post-oriented offense. And what we're going to watch here is some clips of a team that's very, very much guard-oriented. They have a Division I guard, which you'll see here, but their post players aren't really necessarily scoring threats. So I'm giving you that because, again, it really matters to us how we play this based on the people. We are in the white, and our opponent is in the black jerseys. So if I'm freezing this clip right here, this girl right here is the controller. This girl right here is the gapper. Ball side is the taker. The girl right here is in the middle. Weak side is the reader. When the ball is up top, the controller, we want to force the ball to the gapper, okay? The taker is looking, right now she has nobody, so she's ball watching a little bit. The reader is trying to split the difference. Normally, you'll see people have a wing and somebody on the low block. You'll notice that she's up high, okay? She's always trying to get in that position to where she can read the ball. She can make a play if they try to diagonally pass it here, or she can make a play to get out. So one thing that's really key is we tell our takers they need to kind of match out to the alignment to the highest player. So right now, if you look, they have one in the corner. Because she's in the corner, it allows our taker to drop down farther, all right? And we know they're guard-oriented. We're kind of baiting this pass a little bit, you know, trying to get in the passing lanes, force a tempo just a bit. If there was a player on the wing, she would be farther up right into here. We always match up to the highest player. You'll notice my reader is nice and long. She's always above that first hash mark. She never wants to get too low. And she never wants to get so high as to be on the elbows if she's got someone below her. So if you look at this reader, she's actually got 3 people she's responsible for. If 24 skips it, we want to see if we can get that pass if she goes to corner. And if they try to diagonally throw it, her and the middle girl will try to make a play on it. Now, one thing you're going to see here, it's very important for the middle to play up high in the paint. Okay, a lot of times you see the middles play back, and we don't want that. We tell, and we have this nice little dotted line circle on our court. We want to play that far up. And the reason is our middle needs to be able to deflect a pass, needs to be able to get in front. And if there's ever an overload situation, she's got to be able to get in front to then get out to the corner. If you play under the rim or below, you end up getting hit with a lot of bodies, okay? So it's very important that the middle plays up really, really high on this, okay? So this team, I told you, they're very much guard-oriented. They're trying to just run a little circle action, put high and low posts. Now, here's a big key, and I think anytime you run something zone-related, what do you do when the ball goes in the high post? It changes for us. So, again, this team is not very good with their post players. So we allow our middle girl to come up and play that high post more. So if you watch, the catch comes here, and she's coming up and getting it. When if the middle ever comes up to the high post, the taker and the reader have to drop to the blocks. All right, you see that they both did that. The controller and gapper look to fan out onto the shooters that are out on the floor. Pause that. This is just one big long possession. You'll see, though, if we're playing a team that's very good in the post, we may actually let a controller gapper guard that, and you'll see that later in the film. So one thing that we don't do a good job of here is they get the rebound, and my controller and gapper are kind of ball watching. My gapper right here doesn't really pick up on this girl cheating out. We do a good job of containing. Now you notice my controller was this girl. My gapper is this girl. Because there's nobody in the high post, she can cheat out probably even more and try to bait that pass. One thing you'll notice, and again, this is really much about the details, this player right here is very much right-handed, and our scouting report was to make her go left. So as soon as she gets it, even though she's on the right side of the floor, we kind of shift our feet to invite her to go to the left side. Another little detail you see here is the ball gets reversed. The taker takes the first pass on that side. What should happen is the taker takes the shot away, and either the controller or the gapper, they have to communicate. Right now, these two players should be talking, and one of them has to come over and bump the taker down. If the taker always stays there, then you end up getting beat with overloads, and you have your middle one-on-one on a block. What we want is a taker to take the shot away, okay? And then one of the two between the controller and gapper come over, banana cut, and get in front and relieve them. Notice how my taker is positioned. She guards with the outside hand really high. And I know you look at that and you say, she's given the driving lane. This is a freshman. I do wish her feet were a little bit more angled, but our whole purpose is to get outside hand, and we want you to dribble the ball because we know that one of these players is coming. So you dribble once or twice, then you have to pick your dribble up and you're dead. The other reason we have our hand high is whenever she gets bumped down, if there is a corner, she wants to keep that high hand and make sure that pass is a lob. So for example, if there was somebody where my laser is, she would be here, controller gapper comes over, bumps her down, and she would actually stay in the passing lane with her outside hand up. So if they try to throw to the overload in the corner, they have to throw it high or she's going to get a deflection. And what that does is it prevents my middle from always having to run back and forth and get caught going out on overload situations. What's going to happen here is neither one of these two talk and both of them run at it. So now we're already out of position. The other negative thing that happens is as the ball moves, you'll notice my middle stands and ball watches. She should already be in front of that and move when the ball was there to there and got a chance to be in front. If she does that, the pass never occurs. For her, though, she's a shot blocker, or at least she thinks she is, and she wants to bait people to do that. Well, because my controller gapper, like I said, both ran over, they have a wide open three here. What should have happened on this possession, taker takes it, middle fronts that, or at least gets three-quarter deny. This player right here would be cheating this shooter, and this player right here would have been on this far elbow taking this pass away. But because we don't do that, we're not in a position we give up a shot. Like I told you, I'm not going to show you us doing good things. I want to show you us doing bad things. So again, you'll notice, and I want you to see, because the offense that they're in, it looks like we have a two guard. It almost looks kind of like a 2-3 at times. That's just because of what they're running, all right? It matches up to alignment. So just because it looks like that now, it may be different. You also notice the player I have here, she's a little bit slower of a foot. So the way she guards this up top in the gap is going to be a little bit different than you see in a few seconds when I get a sub and it's maybe a little quicker and gambles a little bit more. So a couple things I want to point out to you, and this will happen to us a lot. So right now, this girl's a controller. There will be a lot of instances where somebody has the ball and they dribble and switch sides of the floor. there's two ways we can guard this with the controller and the gapper. Number one, which is what you're seeing here, Shelby stays with it. The gapper sees that, and she just switches positions. So the controller stays a controller, gapper becomes a gapper, and we're ready to get out. The other option that you're going to see later in film is whenever she starts dribbling, this gapper will go run and jump switch on it, do a jump switch, and be very aggressive. And then that'll kind of throw her and get her a little bit off balance. And then my controller here would go and become the gapper, and they would switch spots. So again, because it's not a great team with post players, we allow our middle girl to guard the high post, which allows these two, in theory, to kind of help out more on the shooters who they kick out to. There's another game, which you'll see later, but depending on personnel, we may tell that middle girl to stay back and let one of the controller gappers get this, okay? And the reason we do that is so we prevent the high-low passes, which is one of the many different adjustments we make game to game. But one thing I like about this possession is when the ball goes into the high post, you'll notice my taker does a great job immediately moving down and getting her match up here on the block. And my reader is doing the same thing, getting rebound position, making sure that we can't pass out. Because my reader does not have anybody else out here, she can get really low with this girl. If this shooter right here was over to the wing, she has to be more alert and be able to get out on the skip pass. So it's all about alignment on how we play. So one thing I'll point out to you here is I believe we teach when you're playing a really good player, you can't try to go get her in transition way too early because they'll just stutter step and go by you. So we have a teaching point in this game to pick them up a foot or two above the three-point line. But my gapper, if you watch in transition, my gapper covered the rim, and then she's going to move back out. So transition defense is a big thing. Even though that's not my gapper's responsibility, she was the first one back. She covered the rim until everyone else, the middle, got there. Now that the middle's there, she's going to come back up and do her job. So this right here is going to be the example of the jump switch. So she gets it. Again, this is a player that loves to go right-handed. So we kind of felt that in this alignment, we were going to force this to happen. We jump switch it. We get her rushed a little bit. She knew, hey, we have a jump switch. They talk. I got it. Now she's the gapper. So we just switch positions on it. Taker gets it. Gapper comes over. She took a bad angle right there. She needs to banana cut a little bit more and get in front. Now my taker's going to back down. We bump her down. Notice the footwork. We're immediately forcing to the left side. So now my girl right here is starting to figure out what the offense is. All right, so she says, you know what, I'm going to cheat into this high post more because I made that read. So now she's taking this away and sitting on it. A key thing we tell our gappers is if you are guarding a high post, because this is a non-shooter or maybe that's just where their best player is, you need to sit on the top leg. That's kind of what she's doing here. If my gapper gets completely in front, she almost gets screened on any skip passes, okay? So we teach, if you ever guard somebody in the high post, you sit on their top leg. And what that allows you to do is, in this case, your inside arm can prevent the pass, your outside arm and your feet are still in position to, if they throw here to here, guard to guard, we can get out on it. Now, again, you're going to watch. My middle is doing two things. One, she's playing a little too low. And two, she's not reacting. She's ball watching. So she allows this pass to go into the paint, which never should happen. She walls up, does a good job. My reader there took away the low block. Skip pass comes out. The reader is responsible for skip passes, so she does a good job of running that girl off the three-point line. We feel like when we run this, we're going to take away things inside, and we want to take away catch and shoot threes. If we give up mid-range pull-ups, we feel like that's going to go into our advantage. So we run her off the line, force this shot. We have good rebounding coverage. Ugly rebound, but we have coverage. So here's another possession. This girl right here is my taker. Naturally, and this is really key, we want to force the ball when it's on the wing or when it's up top to the controller and the gappers. So my taker picks us up in transition and she's automatically turning her feet. We want to make them dribble into the elbows because we know that's where the controller gapper are coming to bump my taker down. All right, so that just happened to be in transition. And because we do that, we take a good angle, we take away baseline, we end up getting a deflection with it. So I've made a substitution. I've got a different girl coming out that's playing my controller spot. She's a little bit more athletic, and you notice she picks up at a different point. And now a lot of times we'll see teams start thinking, well, now we got a 1-1-3 look, or sometimes it looks like a 1-3-1. But she definitely plays this much, much more aggressive. We know they're not going to shoot the ball out here. So sometimes we'll say we'll go press up, but sometimes we're like, hey, if we know you're just going to reverse it, we'll let you do that. We got to pick our spots and with each team on when we're going to be aggressive. Okay, so you'll notice here, number 10 is just looking to reverse, but look where my girl Minnie here is playing. She's really looking to bait that pass, and she's pressing up much, much more than the player before her was. And we're kind of letting them throw this ball in here because they don't truly know what to do with it when they catch it. My taker does a good job here, kind of playing the one-on-one game here. She's being physical. My reader does a good job not being too low. A lot of times what you'll see people do is this reader will be all the way on this backside on the block. She's got to be up high. She has nobody, so we want her to get up really, really high to that wing to snatch a pass there, snatch a pass up if she can. Ball goes there. Look at the hands. Nice and long. We bump her down even though it's kind of slow. Now right here, I feel like the controller can just move over and take it. And that's what happens. These two communicate, and instead of them switching, they just say, hey, you stay on it. I'm going to stay over here and be the gapper. My big girl right here, she's a 6'1" freshman in this film, and she's doing exactly like a freshman would do. She doesn't pay attention to the screen. She doesn't fight over it early, but we're lucky. She's really long. She fights through it late, and she gets a block shot. But one thing, you'll see people try to screen the weak side wings a ton. You got to teach them to get over that and be alert. And we got saved there by her size. So again, we do a good job. This is a Division I player. We're forcing her to her left hand, even though it's the right side. We're following a scouting report. We're matched out. A lot of times you'll see this, and teams may think we're in man, okay, just by looking at it. So there's times where they'll see this alignment and say, well, we're going to run our man offenses, which again kind of confuses and gives us an advantage. So my taker's playing the high side here. We're going. Again, we're not doing a good job. That was a weak opportunity to screen there, or a weak screen. We could have fought through a lot better on that.
Hey, so, Coach, I got a question if you want to.
Is inbounds, okay? We do run this matchup on the inbounds. I just want to make sure you see kind of what happens here. So this is my controller. My gapper is right here on the high post. You can't see her. She's between the two players. I've got my reader, my middle, and my taker. The responsibilities are this. The taker allows no easy pass on ball side block. The middle is responsible for the middle of the paint and over to the weak side. My reader is responsible for the weak side block and everything over, okay? Controller will get the first pass to the corner or the wing. Gapper has everything, the top of the paint, and is kicked out up top, all right? So when this ball's thrown in, we do a poor job because this right here, Minnie has nobody else, so she follows, but this taker should step up and take this pass away. My middle should be on this girl that's just kind of shifted to the weak side wing, and my reader can split the difference between this weak side block person and this girl out to the corner. So we don't do what we're supposed to do as the taker. We allow that easy pass in. That could have been a steal or deflection. We come back up, but now we're immediately in our 2 defense. She was a controller. She's the gapper. Taker picks up the pass. What you'll notice here in that clip is we did a really good job of keeping our hands in the passing lanes, and we got a deflection on it. So I want to switch real quick, and I promise if something's not making sense or if I'm going through things too fast, I'll answer any questions I can. And again, I'll talk to you individually anytime you want me to.
Coach, we do have one question if you want to. So, and you maybe you're going to show that here in a minute because I know that was a little bit more of a guard-oriented offense. But the question basically is talking about, I think your low middle girl there trying to get to the short corner. So if they have a baseline runner, right, getting in that short corner, and then just how that low middle player needs to, which I'm sure I'm not using the phrasing right, but the middle player has to come out and take any short corner runner.
Yeah. Well, I'll address it if I can. In a perfect world, our middle never has to go out, but that we don't live in a perfect world. So there's teams overload on us, and the middle has to come out. If the middle comes out to the short corner, or if the middle goes all the way to the deep corner, and the only reason that happens is because the taker gets stuck high. Okay, gets stuck on the wing. The bump down didn't happen quick enough. I hope those terms are making sense. So the middle has to go out. When the middle goes out, that means there's a hole in the middle. Okay, and you guys are going to see this on our breakdown drills at the very end where I show it in practice. When that happens, okay, so think about it. The middle goes out. The reader from the weak side, if there's someone on the ball side block, she'll read that the middle's going out. She will go over and cover the ball side post player for a second or two to allow the taker to drop down from the wing and then go become the middle. And at that point, the middle is now the taker because they've got the first pass on that side. The taker drops down to the new middle, and the reader will then bump back and become the reader on the weak side. That makes a bit of sense right now. But I promise whenever we do the breakdown drills at the very end, you guys are going to see that exact rotation.
Yeah. So
I'm going to switch films. Go ahead, Matt.
A little explanation was the taker has the ball on the wing. Yeah. And they move it to the baseline runner pretty quick, forcing the middle out. So I think you answered it right. So then do you then take the taker sprint to middle or go to backside and replace the reader?
Yeah, so that's like amoeba, long
slide, short slide, yeah.
We do short slide. So what we do is we want the reader to go and help for a second so the taker can get there. You know what I'm saying? So for a split second or two that it takes the taker to adjust from the ball going down, middle going out, and she has to get her butt on the short slide, the reader has to come over and help because there's absolutely no chance of a high school girls basketball player or most guys to pass from the corner to the opposite block. So we say we're gonna help with the reader over until the taker can get there, and we kind of communicate. And as soon as the taker feels like I'm close to it, they say, I got it, get back. Taker takes the middle, reader goes back to the weak side, and we're playing.
Yeah, perfect.
And I promise that'll be shown. That exact rotation is going to be practiced in our breakdown drills.
Okay.
So this team we're playing, and I think Brad's on here. The team we're playing, he should be on this call right now. Love you, Brad. I'm going to miss competing against you, man. His team was very post-oriented, and they killed us high-low 2 games earlier in the year before this. So you're going to notice right off the bat, we're going to guard the high post much differently this game. We are in purple, okay? So same type of setup here, but they're very much high-low, trying to get the ball into the bigs. So you'll notice here the ball went high post. My middle stayed on the low. And I actually love guarding it this way. We actually want our controller or gapper to cover the high post, let the middle stay on a low block person, and everything matches out so much better that way, I feel. I actually think against most teams, we're going to play it this way, okay? Because this takes a little bit of pressure off my taker reader having to cut back down. This allows us to cover shooters better. So in this scenario with this team, you're going to see our controller or gapper, whichever one is closest and calls it, is actually going to guard this high post. And the middle is going to stay down and take away the high-low pass. So you know if she gets this, there is no way that they're making a high-low. Now, here's the thing that really pisses me off. And this girl, guys, she's 6'1" freshman. She thinks she's Division I, and she probably is Division I. But how does she not read this right here? She's got nobody else. She needs to be all the way up into where my laser is and matching out so she can steal this pass. But she ball watches, like most freshmen do, and she allows it to happen. But I'll give her credit. She has her footwork good. We adjust. I'll give credit to my gapper here. She's guarding the high post. She should have switched. The ball went to here. She's the gapper. Remember, she should be on the high side, sitting on top of a high post. She didn't react quick enough, but she gave good effort, closing out with a hand, getting it there. Again, my gapper covered the high post catch, so now we get a deflection on this high-low pass. So this is something you guys, people do a lot of. They maybe ball screen the top because they think we're in a 1-3 look, or we're in a 1-2-2 and we have a 1 guard front. Okay, so against this team, we pick up the ball handle a little bit more. They're going to screen it. Now, we treat ball screens and dribbles across from side to side of the floor the same way. We're either going to switch it, meaning this controller will just fight over with her feet and keep the gapper there, or we're going to hard jump switch it. We don't really do a good job at either here. We get stuck to the screen. She doesn't do a good job getting her foot. You guys know, look at this film. She should get her high foot here over the top. She doesn't. I bet you they didn't talk about it. Shelby should have shown a little bit more. She doesn't. And what this does, this girl is going to go play Division II basketball. She was a senior, so she's a freshman at D2 right now. We gave this girl way too much room to pass. And then my middle girl is too far back. She should be a couple steps up, and she's ball watching. So Shelby doesn't put pressure on the ball handler, and she's ball watching. So what happens? A really good player sees, threads the needle, and now we have to worry about this catch. And that's a really good post player that just made a reverse layup on us early in the game, made us look dumb. So, you know, we've been very successful. I've had really good players. But, guys, we still do the cardinal sins of ball watching and not following our principles. So please don't think we've got everything figured out because I'm talking to you here. We've got a lot to learn, and I've got a lot I got to do to be a better coach so this doesn't happen in the future. So one thing you'll see with this team is my gappers are playing much, much tighter into the high post, okay, instead of going 2 guard, look with our matchup. So we pick this up. Taker's matched out here. We're okay. I feel like my controller gapper are guarding the same spot right here. In theory, one of these two should be over. One of these two should be here. Again, these two aren't talking good enough. They're both reacting, and they're both going to guard one pass. I like how my reader's playing this, though. My reader has no one on the low block, so she's coming up high. But again, I feel like my reader needs to go steal this pass, because what's the point of being aggressive and being a team like we are with our link if we're not going to go and be willing to steal that as a reader? Your actual job as a reader is to read the eyes, read where your teammates are going, and make the best decision. We react late on this. We end up giving a post feed. We do a good job playing straight up. I like how my taker gets caught under here. Okay, she did a good job preventing that post-to-post pass. But here's what we did not do a good job of. Ball went here. This is my gapper. She gets caught trying to dig in on the post, which we don't need to do. Now, there's been times against teams that don't have good vision where, hey, they throw it in the post, and we will take this gapper and go double and don't allow them to turn and see the reversal. That wasn't our game plan here. We wanted to go one-on-one because we like the matchup and let Shelby fan out to these shooters. Well, Shelby digs, and she should be playing right where my laser is. And if she does that, she's going to deflect those passes or she never throws the ball. But anyway, she does a good job of running out, I guess, hand up. My gapper then has to run. She closes out. Good hard work. My reader right here is already anticipating. I see her moving. She's ready. She's making them think. The only reason that ball wasn't reversed is because my reader became active. And that's a Division II player. She saw it, pivoted, went back. Now then my next problem is this girl's standing and she's guarding nobody. So she has no value on the block. She should be farther out and be right to where my laser is, and then they wouldn't have this pass. But she still does a good job closing out. We give this up. We're high hands. We're going into contact. Maybe we foul. Maybe we don't. I don't know. This next clip. Now, I want you to notice we are guarding this a little bit different. My controller here is kind of playing her flat. She's kind of giving her baseline. We felt it's really important against this team to keep the ball on one side. So instead of forcing her back to our controller gapper into the middle where she has really good vision, we just kind of wanted to keep her in that alley back there. So that's another little subtle detail that we changed. So you see here, she skips it. She's ball watching again, easy. I'm picking on this freshman, but I love her to death, but she's just making many mistakes because that could have been a steal. We react quick here. Gapper's playing well. I kind of like how we're moving, to be honest with you. Gapper takes this. Middle's able to play back. Look how great we cover that high-low. We're completely taking it away. And we're able to harass this high-low person. She doesn't get what she wants. Here's a real key concept that I think it's really important to teach people. So oftentimes when the ball goes in the high post, notice where this girl turns immediately. She turns and looks the opposite way. So what we teach is if you're the controller and the ball goes high post and they turn away from you, go try to smack the ball away. So the reason you see this trap is Simran knew because of our teaching points here that when she catches it, if we see her look the other way, we're going to go in and get a hand on the ball. Because what's the chances of her coming back around and pivoting again? Very little. So I give Simran credit there on following what we do and harassing. So now we've made this big girl feel pressured. My taker does a good job getting out. Look how high my taker is. She's coming out and guarding somebody above the three-point line. Really key concept for us. So, Matt, do I have any other questions on that? And I'm going to show a couple breakdown drills, if that's okay.
I do have one. It's not specifically on that, but go ahead and ask it before you get to the drills. Coach Starr is actually asking, where are the weak spots and what is the best offense to beat this matchup? Man, you see, man or zone, what gives you more fits? And then one other question is, do you ever extend out further closer to half court?
I
So
will.
weak spots, best offense,
Okay,
and
I
then
got
in half court.
as far as extending out, I can extend this out as far as three-quarter court. There's been times where I take my controller and say, I want you to pick up the ball as soon as they inbound it and harass them that way. And then I'll put the gapper at the volleyball line. We'll go that high. You just didn't get a chance to see those clips. And then when we do that, we'll bring the taker and reader up much higher up the court as well. We also do that gimme thing where as soon as a point guard crosses half court, we'll have the controller gapper both go run at him. And when the controller gapper both go run at him, the middle will go up and guard the high post because normally there's a middle girl. She'll deny the high post. Take a reader, go and flood up the wings as well. So we will extend this out as far as we need to. And to answer the best offenses, what's weaknesses, what's worked against it, I'll tell you, here's what I've come up with. One of the things that I told a friend of mine why I'm willing to share this, because some of us are afraid to share things with people who will play. I feel like because there's so many ways we can adjust this, we can always adjust to any offense or any concept. Okay, so if you're trying to beat us one way, there's an adjustment we can make to take that away and make you beat us another way. So if you're a coach that's got your team so prepared for every adjustment we can make, you're probably a genius and you're probably going to out-execute us no matter what and beat us anyways. Or you're going to be so overthinking our matchup zone that you forgot how you're going to stop us from scoring because we do have good players. And you also forgot that we do full court pressing and we have a half court press. So you aren't prepared for that as much. So we feel like we have enough adjustments, whatever you come at us with, we'll adjust to. That being said, we all know that sounds good in the coaches speak, but our players make mistakes. One thing that hurt us early was we had a team that would do a two-guard front, and they would run a 2-1-2 offense with two on the slots, a high post, and they had two girls in the corners that would go, they would stay three-point, and then they would cut back door to the block, and they could shoot the three, and they could hit passes. It was just like a 2-1-2, like they treated it as if they were beating a half-court press. And the problem is both girls up top could shoot it. So we got, well, do we guard the high post that can catch and move? Do we guard the shooters? And what we learned from that is there's times where we got to actually match up on the two guards up front. So you may see the controller guard the ball, they pass guard to guard, gapper come and get it, and that controller will stay with the other guard and it looked like man one pass denial. And then you'll say, well, that'll leave the high post vulnerable. Sometimes we'll bring the middle up to guard it. And honestly, sometimes I feel like we'll just let the middle be wide open and dare you to shoot it. That's a really hard shot, catch and shoot on a pivot at the high post. And a lot of times people send somebody to the high post that's a reversal person, not a scorer. So if we see that, we may say, we're going to deny the guards, but we're going to let the ball go in the high post. And if they want to shoot it, if they make 30% of that, that's pretty good. Okay, we'll probably win a game if you make 30% of 2-pointers from the free throw line. So that's kind of how we play the numbers game. The thing that really gets us beat is if you can move the ball and get us on the skip pass and make my reader have to really, get out on the reversal. We do get caught on that some where we have teams that not just go 2-1-2, but if they can go overload, make our middle come out, and then get a skip pass over the weak side. The reason why it's hard is not because there's not a way to guard it. It's just because we have to make sure we execute. If our reader is not paying attention to the weak side people, we can give up threes. I'll be honest with you, though, and this is hard for some people. We had 3 games this year where a team hit 7, 9, and 12 threes. We won all of those games by double digits. I believe, if you make 10 threes in a game, that's 30 points. We are going to score more than 30 points on offense. So if you're only going to get threes and you get really hot, if we don't foul you and we don't give you stuff in transition and we're not giving you easy backdoor layups or anything, we're going to win that game. Now, I told you I want to take away the catch and shoot. We don't want them to get comfortable in the three-point line. We want to actually take it away. But I'm not afraid of giving up some shots in this. We don't say, well, we gave up. They're really hot. No, I promise you. We had one girl in a scrimmage that went for like 40 on us, but her team only had 42, and we won by 26. So we don't care. We're playing the numbers game. And the one thing I'll tell you that really hurt us is Pulaski, the last team you saw, is they were running that high-low action, and we were having the middle girl come up, and they were going ball to the high post and then dropping it down to the low block before we could rotate. And they would throw the ball to the short corner and pass it to the high post diving before we rotated. So what I learned from my good friend Brad at Pulaski was we're going to make that controller gapper guard the high post, and that has pretty much prevented any high-low offenses. And honestly, that helped us tremendously in 2 games in the playoffs. So did that answer all the questions, Matt?
Yeah, there's one more that just came in.
Yeah.
Talking about, do you have any specific rules for maybe players you can't stay in front of who can dribble, penetrate, and then pitch?
So the middle girl that we have is actually, for us, has been a shot blocker. And this year we're going to have 2 girls that are really mobile, but they also can block shots. We have no problem with you trying to go in and dribble, penetrate, because there's so many lines of it. If you beat our controller, you may have to run into the gapper too. And if you beat controller and the gapper, then you got to go into the middle person. And personally, I feel like that we want to force you to dribble. Okay, we're not worried at all about getting beat on this. You did notice in the first game, we were playing really far off on the ball handlers. And the reason was if we played up higher on that D1 girl, she was strong and she's got a really good like hesitation in-out dribble that she uses. So we played off of her and packed it in more. That's also something we did against Pulaski too. The last film you saw, Maddie Ratcliffe, the Division II kid, is great in the open floor. So we decided we're going to give you threes if you want them from the parking lot, and we're going to play off of you. So we actually want you to dribble. We feel like we do really well with teams that try to dribble into it. So, and that's actually a weakness of ours. I've had a couple kids that aren't great one-on-one defense, and that was one of the many reasons that we ended up looking at running this as much as we did. We didn't run one possession of man last year because we felt we got everything we needed to out of this in our press. So I don't know if that answers it, but for us, we have no problem at all with dribble penetration because we have so many lines of it. And I don't want to feel like am I okay on time just for a couple more minutes here, Matt?
Yeah, good.
So I'm going to show you some breakdown drills. And keep in mind, here in Virginia, we're doing workouts, but we're not even allowed to pass a ball right now. These cones are so they don't get within 6 feet of us because we actually did these drills the other day. So this right here is the first time since our season ended in March that any of our girls are running our 2 defense, okay? And this girl right here, you're going to see in a little bit, she's a transfer, okay? And this girl right here is a freshman that's a stud, has a lot of Division I interests, but she played JV for us, but she's never played varsity before. So I'm going to take you through some of the drills. Again, all this is in the PowerPoint, and this is 18 minutes long, but I'm going to skip through it for you. We do this drill to work on our controller gappers playing 2 guards high and a high post. Remember me saying this caused us a lot of problems? We lost the game early in the year, and now we do a drill like this every day that works on controller gappers, how to guard 2-guard offense with a high post. And as you notice here, we're working on our hands, how we force. It's really key when we do this drill, and you kind of see how it's going through and everything. I tell my players, okay, I'm in the gray right here. I'm a really good shooter. You have to guard me different because I'm a shooter. Or I can't shoot worth anything, so back off of me. Then I'll say, hey, this trash can is their leading scorer. We're going to really help on that or shade to it, and we're going to give that pass more. Or I may say Coach Cook is a great shooter. Instead of Shelby Fiddler being here, we'll go and match out more where this laser is here and deny it more. So when we do this drill going back and forth, we really teach scouting report, changing things up. And you see right here, this is an example of dribble happens. Let's get that run and jump. And notice how quick Jada bumped back to that gapper spot so we don't give up that dump pass in the high post. So we'll run this a few times. And again, I'm skipping through this for the sake of time. So now I'm getting ready. I'm telling her what's really important is whenever the controller or gapper goes to bump the taker down. So the taker would have gotten us in the game. This girl cannot run from my laser straight to it because then they'll snake dribble it. She has to banana cut. And you'll show her walking here. Look how she does it. Some of you may call it a C cut. She goes down and then she curls up. If she doesn't banana cut, she has no chance of staying in front. Because remember, taker takes the shot away, controller gapper bumps down and has to be ready to guard the dribble. If she doesn't banana cut, she's going to be caught on her hip. So you guys will see in this video when you go through it at home, a bunch of reps of us doing that stuff. So watch this right here. She takes way too straight of an angle. And in the game, that's not going to work. So I stop it here, and I talk to her about that, okay? Sorry, guys, I'm skipping through. Now, here's a drill we use for our takers, all right? Now, this is what we're trying to work on. The ball goes to the wing, high hand, all right, outside hand in the passing lane. Now, when we get bumped down, so the controller gapper comes, banana cuts, Trinity here gets bumped down, we want to keep that outside hand in the passing lane, so if coach throws it to Coach Jones, it has to be a lob or a deflection. So you notice we really teach and we work on, and I apologize, some of the footwork's going to be bad on this, and here I am showing it. You notice how my hand's high. We try to get our hand there and try to get a deflection, or at the very least make him lob it. But one thing you're going to see here when Shelby goes, she goes, but look how far her body is. She's way too much on the line. All she needs is her hand on the line. Her body can be farther back, because when she plays her entire body on the line, this corner person feels like she can backdoor. So she needs to back up a step and just get her hand in the passing lane, okay? So there's a drill on here. It's just the taker in it's just the taker spot. Now I've got my entire back line in together, okay? And this is where we work on taker takes this away. When the ball goes into the corner, she gets out and she moves on the balls in flight. My reader comes over. Now, here's the thing Savannah does wrong. She's on the high side. She probably should go on the low side, because that's going to be the pass of least resistance to this trash can. My reader comes over and takes this middle post away until the taker, right here, the girl in the blue, can sprint down and get it. So what I teach on this footwork here, and hopefully I'll talk about it here in a second. I'm sorry, I don't want to go through all this with you. Okay, we do it. She's here. Ball's in flight. She's here. It's very important that this girl's inside hand is the one that's up as she runs, because right about now is when the reader should be over, and my girl in blue is saying, hey, I got to get away. So she doesn't wait until she's sitting on the block to move the reader back. She waits until she's a couple steps away and then bumps her back. And again, her footwork there has got to be cleaned up. This is the first day doing it. And you'll notice here, look at me demonstrating it. When you do this, taker has the high hand. The ball is passed to the corner. You open your pivot foot up. You sprint. And your inside hand is up, trying to get a deflection on the ball. Let's see if I can do this here again. So does it. We're in front. We get out. She's moving better. We front. She bounces back. Again, the footwork's not perfect. we just been doing the past. We literally did this 5 minutes, and wanted to get some practice in with you before I show you guys. So we're getting a little bit quicker here. Wing, boom, middle gets out, we cover. And then if you notice here, my taker now is the middle. My middle is now the taker. And this is the transfer. She shouldn't be in so far. She should be farther out. And the last thing I do, I'm going to try to skip ahead and show you guys. Is I put all 5 people out. I still got the 2 trash cans. I got our coaches. So this is one thing. We talk about pressure. If the team does not have a ball side corner, we will trap with the taker and the controller gapper. So one thing we work on here, and you guys see it's getting much more aggressive, is we stay, we look to trap it. She comes up, she recovers back. We look in the trap. She's coming up higher, moving. I like how this transfer is moving here, covering the paint. Boom, we're getting out, high hands. So our base defense is playing this high and this much pressure. And then we'll adjust it to more conservative, which is what you saw in some of the other game film, depending on who we play. So I skip it here. Again, that should be a steal. We come over and trap. In this scenario, this girl needs to be playing higher. We talked about that on the game film. Getting out, looking to trap, we're covering, high hands, doing a good job of it, all that stuff. So I don't want to go through all of it. I don't want to take up too much of your time. But that's the game film. Let me unshare this. Let me get back to facing you. I would love, Matt, to take any questions that you have.
I do have one that is that just came in talking about how do you rotate the big back into the middle when the big covers the corner? I guess probably assuming it's an actual big, that might need to be in the middle. Do you have a plan to rotate them back in?
Yeah. So like last year, you notice on the film, guys, the girl that I had play in the middle, I constantly was telling you she was ball watching. She was a great player for us, did a lot of good things, but she was not good at being mobile. This year we have really quick kids, and it's very versatile. So what we had to do with her was, okay, if you get caught in the corner and go out, our taker will cover the middle for a second. And when that ball dies, so the ball slows down, someone holds it or they stop attacking, we're just going to flip. Because you think about taker, reader, middle should only be about 6 feet to 10 feet away from each other. When the ball dies, we flip back. This year, what I'm trying to do is be ultra versatile and just keep it and say we're going to be taker, reader, taker, middle, and just keep on flipping so we can get the spots quicker. But what I told my kids in practice the other day, I have 3 players that should do that. My other 2 players that are freshmen, we're not going to make them learn all that. We got to cover up for the freshmen that can't probably rotate that quick.
Yeah. Okay. What about late game situations where you're down and you need to apply more pressure?
Again, like we have extended this all the way to half court and run it where it looks like a half court matchup zone. We've also extended it 3/4 court where it looks like a 3/4. Everything that you saw there, we can trap on the wings, take a reader. If the ball goes corner, instead of doing a short slide, we do sometimes trap with take a reader and then the middle. So we've never had an issue of being able to apply pressure in this. The bigger issue we have is, what happens if a team is playing really, really fast before we can get set up into it? And then that comes down into our transition defense. So if you don't do a good job in transition D, we never get a chance to set up. I feel like if we get our stuff set up, we can extend it out, we can pack it in, and you're going to have a hard time scoring.
Okay. What about, this is from Coach Williams here in Texas, who I recognize that name, and he's got about 1 million wins. So he's asking this question. Do you get you face the off? Does offensive post seal your reader coming over to 3/4 when your post goes to the corner? Do you get sealed?
So it's one of those things where I'm sure in theory that's what they want to do. You know, the really good players, some of them can, some players can't. One thing we try to teach, and I pointed out on the film, and I wish I could have found a film that showed you, we teach the reader to come on the low side. And is most kids, when they look to pivot, they'll pivot up on the block. And if we come low, almost we're running under the rim, and they get on the baseline side of you, we normally don't get shielded or pivoted, because no player is taught, I'm going to go pivot and seal under the backboard. They say, I'm going to go pivot and seal up on the block and try to get a drop step, right? Or at least that's what I feel like. So that helps us some. And you got to remember, the reader's job is not necessarily to prevent a catch, is to prevent an easy layup. So if the ball gets passed into the girl's ceiling, the reader is still on her, and now I got a taker coming. It's getting ready to be a trap. You're still going to be a post player having to catch it back to the basket over in a crowd and score. I still like the percentages on that shot. So for us, that's how I've theorized why we do it the way we do.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Sure, you're
can I ask Warner Gross 1-4 high? Here's what we'll do is I will bring I'll bring the middle all the way up to the high post, and she will deny one of the elbows. And normally one of the high posts, you can tell by just how they look or their skill set in the scouting report. This player's not going to, they're going to more of a post player. One's more of a step out guard. So whichever one is more of a post that's going to stay, that's who the middle girl will come up and deny the high post. Do we match up with a 5 out? We will everywhere except for probably the middle. Okay. And so, I'll tell you what I mean by that. So we'll match everything out, but instead of the middle running all the way to the short corner, the middle will just shade to probably the block on the side of that corner person they're guarding. So if that makes sense to you, I may have a controller up at the top of the key. I'll have a taker on ball side take the wing. I'll have the middle on ball side be on the block guarding that corner. Then the reader will be matched out on the other side, and then the gapper will be matched out on the wing. So we don't completely go 5 out and match out aggressively like that, but we will send 4 people out in the passing lanes if it's advantageous. And that goes into the no defense. 5 out in high school, do y'all really have 5 kids that are going to shoot the 3 and that not be a good thing for us? We're playing the numbers.
All right. Any more questions? Feel free to type them in. It's almost 9:20 your time, Coach.
Yeah. Matt, did I do a good job explaining things? I mean, am I talking crazy here?
No, it's good. It's good.
Okay.
I don't see any more questions. We appreciate your time. That was really good. And I know matchup zone, as far as my experience goes, is always one of those topics that quite a few people will watch, either if not live. I know they'll watch it on Hardwood. So, so link to your PowerPoint.
Let me. I just put hopefully you've seen it. It's a Drive Google. My email is coachmikehedrick@gmail.com. My cell phone number is 828-291-7118. I just put all that in there if you want it. I just want to say a couple things just to wrap up. And if any question comes, feel free. This is just my version of things. If you have a better way of doing it, heck, I'd love to hear it, because I love stealing, as you can guess. But I've become a coach that I went from running man a lot to unless I just have a team that absolutely couldn't run this, which I've yet to figure out a team that would be the case, I'm probably always going to run this. I love the way the advantages it gives us. I love the versatility. I think you can run this if you're small and you have quick people that can get under. I think we're lucky we have a lot of length, if you notice that. Our back line's 6 foot and above, which in high school is really good. So if you have length that can move, you can be really great in this. We run it with a press, so we are an aggressive team. I know some people are acting, how do you put pressure? you literally just extend things out. I think most people that don't run matchups that are interested in it, they get confused by all the different things out there, and it seems complicated. And I hope with mine, at least some of it made sense on how to do it simple for high school. So you see all kinds of different zone concepts, man concepts. This is what works for us. We're really big on the adjustments. And I'm going to tell you, the only way this works is, one, if you stick to it. You can't get, well, threes are happening or it's not working. You got to stick to it and be committed. And you've got to be really, really good at spending time on film and doing scouting reports. If you do not scout in playoffs, this won't work, because you're going to run into somebody that is going to game plan it. You won't have the adjustment. So if you're someone that's not going to put in film work, or that's just not how you coach, this may not be the best thing for you, because I know I'm not a very smart person. It's very hard for me to see everything on the court and the game at a time. I rely a lot of my adjustments on anticipating what they're going to do by watching tons of film. So I like doing this. It's really helped our team. We had a great year this past year, and hopefully we have some success with it this year.
All right. Thanks for your time, Coach. That was really good. And we appreciate you putting all the rest of the speakers together. So I'm looking forward to the other 4 coming in the month of October. So we appreciate the time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. And thank all you guys that are listening, and all of you that are going to watch in the future.